Alright, fella. Has done any requests?
Can I play your guitar?
Through Wonderwall.
I'm a good singer. Can I sing with you?
Oh, give us another. Come on, mate. One more song.
One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song. One more song.
Okay, we're good?
Yeah, we're good there.
So I'm looking at that one.
You don't have to look at it.
No,
I'm going to look at you guys.
Look at each other.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
pretend it's not there.
just
kind of thing,
just
you know?
stare at us intently.
just like
Yeah,
stare
yeah.
into the centre of the lens. Yeah, we'll keep that in. Right. Hello, welcome to the One More Songcast. We've got another guest on, but it's not really a guest episode today. It's more just a chat and a bit of a topic discussion. So we've got Shelli LaFay back with us.
Hiya.
In person this time.
Hiya.
Sorry for deleting your footage, by the way.
It's all right.
We
This time.
I was trawling through your Facebook for hours, just like grabbing as many photos as I could to fill out the episode.
Yeah.
But we did all right with what we had, but nah, it was a good episode to be fair. On Spotify and whatever else. So,
Just remember us singing one more song all together on my guitar. And
Yeah. Oh, it was good times.
So how have you been, Shelli? What's it been, about 6 weeks, something like that? Probably a bit longer, to be fair. Time goes so fast, doesn't it? What
I
have you
reckon
been up
that
to?
sounds about right. Yes, because
Yeah.
it was like the day after my birthday. So whenever that was.
Yeah, well, you should know
June.
that. Yeah.
Well, I've
before
had so
Muse,
many.
anyway. Before Muse.
It was before Muse.
Oh, yeah.
How did you feel about Muse?
Oh, unbelievable.
Such a good
Unbelievable. Yeah,
time.
you're just watching it. Even Royal Blood before him, we were like, it's just like, how?
Yeah.
How can you possibly sing and play that? It's just not human, is it?
No, it's bullshit. I've tried so much to like sing and play with violin, and it's so hard. And I know it's possible because some people manage it. So I am gonna try and work on that. But yeah, I just feel like it would open up so much for me if I could do that. But yeah, there's this thing, isn't there? You've got to kind of like compartmentalize bits of your brain in order to do that, and I can just about do it with guitar. I don't think violins.
And Matt Bellamy can do it on anything while he's playing a full symphony on piano. It's just stupid.
I know, like every now and then I just watch. There's a video of like, I think it's Space Dementia.
Yeah.
Ding, digga, 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 ding, digga, digga, and he's singing at the same time.
Yeah.
It's like, you're not human. You're not human.
No, it's just not fair, to be
I know.
to be quite honest.
Sorry.
No, you're
Do you have
fine.
any thoughts about Muse?
I don't. No, I don't.
Really? None at
Do
all.
I need to listen to him?
Yes.
Yeah. What would they offer me? What's different about them to
Sci-fi, conspiracy
Right, okay,
theories.
yeah.
Also,
in the writing, yeah.
incredible
Yeah.
vocal technique.
Yeah.
You would love the subjects of the songs and everything.
Yeah.
But the songwriting, the technical capabilities of what they can actually do is just absolutely stupid.
You know when
Totally.
some bands just like pass you by, and then when you actually discover them, you're like, oh wow, yeah, I'm a bit like that with Muse. Maybe I need to sit down and have a night getting into it.
Maybe. I made a playlist for my friend a little while ago. I could send it over to you if you want.
Introductory
Yeah,
sort of?
I was like, this is stuff I think that you'll like.
Yeah,
and she was just
absolutely.
like, yeah, they're fucking great, aren't they? I was like, yes, well done.
So have you been gigging plenty then?
Have I been gigging plenty?
I've seen you've been doing busking more.
A bit. I was doing a lot of busking in June.
Yeah.
And then it started raining and has not stopped.
Right, okay,
So yeah, all of June I was busking, and I was just like trying to time it so I could go out like without getting completely burnt to a crisp in the sun. So yeah, I was going like early evenings, and then it just started raining, and I'm just like, I can't really take my amp out in the rain. So I've done a few gigs, but like, yeah, busking was definitely the main thing. And then like all of June, I've kind of spent recording and doing a few things with my band and stuff
So
like
you've
that.
taken a bit of a step back from gigging to do
Yeah.
commit to the recording. That's
and
cool.
it's funny that like I feel like well, for one thing, my friend said to me when I played him my new song, which I'm gonna play later on, like he was like, your voice has improved so much. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I think it's from busking, you know.
Okay.
And I think it's because I'm so used to like this is the first time I've really sang when I'm not singing against a drum kit. So my instinct is just to belt everything out because I can. So just to belt everything out, and like, because I don't have good technique with that, so much of the time I just blow my voice out and then just be like for the rest of the day. But what I've realized, like, from busking, is I haven't been able to do that, because I'll just turn up, I'll really not have the chance to like warm up, and then I'll structure my set so that I'm doing things that aren't too challenging at first, and then gradually develop like throughout. So I'm warming my voice up as I go. But I've also learned just like how to sing in a more fragile kind of way, and not quite so.
Well, you're not competing, like you say. I always find that as soon as you start competing with something, even if it's just like a busy room or something, I'm a nightmare for that. Like pushing, and you can't come back from it. Like I'm always like push, and some people are just able to just go, all right, okay, well, I'm being able to be heard out front, so I'll just relax. I can't do that, like you say. If there's anything that's just slightly getting in the way of my voice, I'm pushing it like mad.
I think that's why we switched to in-ears recently, isn't it? Because it's just like, it is weird, that transition where you can all of a sudden hear the crowd, you can hear any heckle, and then all of a sudden you actually, that all kind of goes with it, and that's probably why a lot of people then try them and they go, no, I can't stand it.
That's interesting, because I have tried, I think it was, I've done one gig with them, and I ended up just having like one in and one out, just because I haven't figured them out properly yet. I'm very bad with tech stuff, and also I don't know, like, no one else there really knew how to use them, and so I was like, oh, this is great for violin. I can totally, because it's a band gig, I can totally hear myself, but also I was like, oh shit, I've got harmonies to sing on this, which isn't great when you can only just about hear them. So I know there's a way to like, get a full mix in it, so it's not just the violin, but all I was hearing was the violin.
It's taken me about a year to get it right.
Really? Yeah. Okay.
And it's like, I had it one ear, one out, but it's like, you start pushing the volume because it's only one ear. And I was coming out of some gigs with a bit of a ringing and stuff, and I was like, I'm going to have to start doing something a bit different here. So, but it's a journey, innit? We're on that journey at the minute. So,
it is so weird, the transition. And like, my band were doing a gig the other week, and our other guitarist, his mix always sounded really dry. I put the in-ears in for the first time with the band the other week, and I was like, has he always had that much reverb on his guitar? I've like never heard it. So it's
really?
It's the weirdest thing. I'm like literally in the gig playing guitar, he's like going, wow, what? Does he really sound like that?
So that's how it sounded out front, is it?
Yeah.
And you just weren't getting it on
like
stage?
That, but on stage, just because he's obviously the other side of the stage to me, so I can hear everything he's playing, but with no reverb.
Yeah.
He's got his reverb halfway up on his amp.
Weird.
It's so strange.
Tell you what's weird as well, I use them in stereo at the minute, so you can pan the instruments in your ears. So say like there's a drummer to my right, I can pan all the instruments to the right. It's so weird, because it's like he's there, but it's obviously just in your ears. But so because you've
got everyone on one side and you on the other side. Yeah,
say like Lee's at the left of me, I'll pan him to the left in my ears, so I can only predominantly hear him out the left. Me in the centre. It's weird. Like
the way I describe that. Have you ever watched a movie where like there's a helicopter flowing by?
Yeah.
And it comes from that side and goes there, and you end up going like, whoa, the first time you hear it.
These weird sounds.
That's interesting. Okay, that's giving me hope then, because I haven't used them for a little while.
Yeah, I won't tell you how much I spent on these in-ear monitors, but it is a game changer, to be fair. So
I went far more budget. I'll tell you the brand afterwards and all that.
I can't remember what ones I've got, because I bought them secondhand off somebody for like 50 quid or something. I know they were worth more than that originally. But I'm hoping...
Wireless, or yours wireless, or are they wired? Do you have to plug them in? Or...
Yeah, I have to plug it in.
Right, wired. Well. Yeah. Lead, cable.
Yeah.
What have you been up to then, Lee? Any highlights from gigs recently? Or?
One we haven't talked about was actually on the beginning of July. We played Glasfest, which with a band, and it's basically a Longridge farm and agricultural show. But they decided one year to put a tent up. It was like a big marquee tent. It was like 200 people packed under this tent because it was absolutely pissing down raining.
Yeah, that's good.
But like my mate had been building this gig up, and I never like it when someone builds a gig up, because generally the rule is if you build it up that much, it's going to be awesome. It's always a disappointment.
Yeah, of course it is.
So like one of the customers or the local in this bar has got a wedding on and all the customer base is invited. So where they'd normally have about 50 regulars, they're all of a sudden not there on that night. But everyone in Longridge goes to this event. So my mate Chris lives in Longridge. He's like meeting everyone he knows. They're all half cut. They've been out all day. So you're just hoping everyone's going to stay.
Yeah, we'll come see you. Yeah.
Got on stage, no word of a lie, there's people on each other's shoulders. It was like being at a mini Glastonbury.
Lovely.
It was class. So
Yeah, the videos look chaos, to be fair.
it was mental.
That's awesome.
Yeah, there was a couple of tables by the side, and one of the organisers was absolutely hammered, and she was on one of the tables dancing with her son. You just thought someone's going to break the leg if we're not careful.
Yeah.
But for an hour straight through, it was absolutely mint.
That's brilliant.
Probably the best gig I've had ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You say that, don't you? They come around not very often, but you're like, yeah, that probably was one of the best ones, to be fair. So
Speaking of really good gigs, actually, you've just reminded me of something that I didn't mention. Do you know when you're asked a question and you just can't?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely every thought goes out of your head. But you just reminded me. So my band and myself as a solo artist, we played at Not a Cult Festival, and it is like run by like a group of people we know. And our Matt Heartless, who's our singer, songwriter,
frontman.
guitarist, frontman.
There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Thank you. He's like one of the people who books the bands and everything and does stage managing. So we had an in, but it's been growing. It's been going for like 5 years, and it's been growing and growing and growing. And now it's like it's at the point where like there's so many people there that I don't know. And a bunch of my friends came because we'd like booked their band, and they were like they'd never been before, and they were just like, this is the best thing ever, because it's very kind of conceptual, because it's called Not a Cult Festival, which is, by the way, I think they stole from my friend, but that's a whole other story.
Sort that out with the legal team.
Yeah, they won't accept it, but like they definitely stole it from my friend Sophie. But anyway, so like because of that, like you're welcome to like form your own cult. There are two like cults. There's the Church of Connection, which is like more dance music-y, techie people, and there's the Children of Gaia, who are like the hippies. And those are kind of like the ones that it started with. But everyone's welcome to bring their own cults to the festival. And there's lots of kind of like games and events around that.
You're saying cults, aren't you? As in
CULT.
Yeah, cults. Yeah.
What did you think I was saying?
At the start, I thought cults, and I was like, oh, you mean cults, don't you? As in,
Don't be a cult
when I
festival.
think of cults, I just think of like what do you think, like sacrifice and stuff. Yeah,
I mean,
get what you mean.
that could be a part of
Cults
it.
is basically just niche, like
The Illuminati.
groups, I suppose.
Yeah. I could definitely be a part of it if
No,
you'd
that
like.
sounds good. Was it well attended, that the festival?
So this is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So feel free to cut out these drug references.
Oh, you're all right, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay.
No,
Well,
do you want us to cut them out, or?
I don't give a shit.
Oh, I haven't. No, we're
I
fine.
haven't got a job, don't worry.
We're self-employed, all right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I have got a job, sort of.
Yeah.
Doesn't feel like a job. Anyway,
Yeah.
so so when we played our like band set, we played on the Friday night, which I think is the perfect time to play. We were like second headliners, because I think our friends who organised it were just like, can they handle a headline slot? We're not sure. We're going to put someone else on after them. And like, I feel really sorry for those guys, not to be really smug, but we like fucking smashed it. It was so good. We had our first ever mosh pit, because we're like folk punk, so mosh pits don't really happen that much. And we were very happy to see it. I've watched some of the videos back, and they're brilliant. Friday night, best time to play, because then you can just get it all out of the way. You don't have to be sober after that. You can just like, let's have it straight after you come off stage. So that's what I did. But on the Sunday morning, I had a solo gig. Not the Sunday morning. So like 12:30 at a festival. That's the fucking morning, isn't
Still
it?
early though, isn't it? That?
It's really early. Yeah, I was like second on, but that's fine, because there was more experienced acoustic acts on after me. But I was just so worried, because I'd just been up for like a long time on acid. I'd just been like tripping balls for the entire... Yeah, well, you don't get a come down with it, but you do feel unusual.
Rock and roll.
Yeah, it is actually. I'm so cool, aren't I? But the thing was that like I had like 2 hours sleep, and then I woke up and I was just like, can I remember how to play guitar? Oh God. And I was so worried, and I was just sitting in my tent for ages, and also like my voice had gone a bit because I'd been like just,
I hate that feeling,
dancing just
where it's touch and go whether you're going to get through
yeah.
it.
So I spent a good few hours like trying to warm up my voice, and like just like I played through my set in my tent, and I was like, cool, I can still remember how to play guitar. and then my voice kind of came back to me. I had a few cups of tea, and I was like, okay, fine. So then I went on and did my set, and like, I don't know if you guys have got much experience with hallucinogenics, but I definitely felt like...
No comment.
So you're not admitting, you're not coming
You may
with
not
me.
be alone here.
My parents watch this podcast.
Oh,
You've just given it away, mate.
Sorry. Anyway, sorry about this, but so I felt like when I was playing the songs, they just seemed to be going on for such a long time.
Slowing down.
Yeah, I was literally just like, have I added another verse? Am I singing this really slowly? What is this? Like, I don't understand. Anyway, just parking those thoughts and just carrying on. And the really funny thing was, afterwards, several of my friends ran up to me and said, oh my God, that's the best I've ever seen you play.
Just free as a
I
bird.
knew that was coming really weirdly.
I was like, amazing. Well, that just gives me an excuse to do it
Not
every
just
fucking time, I suppose.
what on earth is she doing? Like,
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the part I was worried about. I was like, am I gonna...
Put your guitar down and you just sway it. To
Yeah. Well, there's no footage or anything, so it could have been that, and they were just very supportive. I don't know. But so that was the best weekend I've had in a really long time. It was
Wicked.
so good. Yeah.
So I love it when you're, like you say, before, what do you call it, before the headline act? Like,
I think it is
pre-main event.
head support or main
Yeah.
support.
Main support, yeah, that makes sense.
and you get
yeah.
if you've had a good one, you come off and you're watching the headline, and then people are like, oh, they're not as good as you, and you're a bit like, yeah.
We did
You
get
can
a lot of that, yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah, tell the organisers.
Yeah. Well, that's what we were like saying. We were just like, well, maybe next year they'll let us headline. Maybe next year. Because like we've had this thing with them for years of just like they're being given slots that aren't really that good, and or not as good as we would like. And this is totally an ego thing, but
oh, it is, isn't it? You're always battling with your ego every day, really. I always think, anyway.
I just let it go. So we've kind of complained a few times, and we ended up like getting this really good slot this year, and I feel like we proved ourselves. So hopefully if we play next year or next time we play.
Have you ever been headline and then the one before you has smashed it, and you're like, oh no, and you're about to go on? Have you ever had that? Have you ever had that?
No.
Yeah, we actually had it the other week.
Right.
Jacob
Did
Reddy.
ya?
Jacob
Okay,
Reddy
yeah.
went on, and Jacob Reddy's like done quite well. He's actually written a song, and Blackburn Rovers has used it.
Right, okay.
So it's called Under the Lights, and he's a massive Blackburn fan anyway. But he went on, he absolutely nailed his set. He had people singing along to his own song as well. I just thought, right, we just have to take it that he's warmed up the crowd here, because he's really got them going. But luckily, they were so smashed. We were playing a load of popular covers anyway, so it was just...
That's good.
It was easy.
That's it. I think I've never really felt like that, because I always just kind of will just get the band, just be like team talk, right, we have to really fucking smash this, and like I can't think of a time when I don't feel like we have.
That's good then, that's a positive.
But maybe that's my delusional brain. Just I don't know. I always just feel like we do really well.
There was one with my originals band who at the time we were called Lost in Echoes, and now called Before the Impact, but with our old
The what
drummer.
Impact?
Before the Impact.
Before the Impact.
Yeah. So we'd gone on, like, there's been these two punk bands on before us. They were really good. And then we went on, and it was like a drummer had just decided that everything we did in rehearsal just wasn't going to happen. There was a miscommunication before. Our singer had misunderstood something I'd said. I was just reminding her about the way we'd rehearsed. And she took it like I was talking about something else.
Okay. This is also vague.
Yeah,
but
so she... Basically, it was like we decided to chuck in a cover of Nirvana, Come As You Are. I was like, remember to only harmonise on the second verse.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And not do it on the first one. She's like, well, that's not the way we rehearsed it. I was like, no, I'm just reminding you the way we rehearsed it. And she took it as don't sing in the second verse.
Oh, no.
So we got to the second verse, and she's looking at me to sing. I'm like, you're meant to be singing as well.
Yeah.
It's like,
no. Yeah, I've had a lot of moments
But
like
yeah,
that.
the drummer had just decided to play about 4 songs completely differently to how we'd done it. So we were the headline act, and it just went horrible.
Why did the drummer decide to do that?
Oh, he was just
Of all
a maverick.
people,
He was a
is the-
maverick, complete maverick.
Just went really
But
free jazz.
he was always one of these that's, oh, it'll be fine, and just tried fills that he hadn't had the chance to practice in the middle of a gig, throw us all out of time.
That never works, that does it?
No.
It's like, and you have to be really
Not
good
drummers.
to chuck in a fill like that. Like, if you can trust the drummer to do it, like the drummer we've got now, I trust him in my life.
Yeah,
He'd get on with it. But, nah.
Yeah, we definitely have had that sometimes. I don't think it's ever happened in at gigs though. I think it's happened in practice where our drummer's just gone a bit feel happy, we'll say, and we've just been like, maybe do that less in this verse because this, like, you know, we've got like a bass solo going on. So if you're also soloing, we will just run out of time, like come out of time or whatever. But yeah, luckily I don't think I've ever done that in a gig. I can't imagine anyone who should do that less than a drummer. You know, it's just like we're all relying on you.
I've gone to try something that I've not done in maybe a vocal ad lib or like something slightly different on guitar, and I've gone, oh no, better not do that. You know,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
you're like,
Oh, yeah, I've done that loads of times.
Let's do that next week in practice. Maybe not.
Yeah,
Well,
let's
sometimes you do
workshop
it does come off, but you have to be so confident with the song to know you're going to find your way back into it if you do go out of time.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
It's easier to get away with that solo because you can literally just make it look like it was intentional.
Definitely. And there's some tricks, I think, when you're playing a lead instrument, like if you're doing, improvising like a solo or a fill, it's just like, well, you just got to make sure, it's a little trick of the trade for anyone who needs to know this.
There you go.
You can let me know if you agree with me on this.
Oh, it's not
If you-
recording, Shelli. Joking.
This is so important. But yeah, when you're like soloing, when you like get to the end of a phrase, make sure you resolve it on the tonic, like on the, the note that the of the
See,
key.
I'd agree with that, but I'd either go with the root, the third or the fifth.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just go for tonic just because it makes me feel
Comfortable.
safe.
Comfortable.
And I absolutely know that's gonna sound fine. But yeah, third or fifth, I'm probably like, yeah. That makes a lot of sense as well, actually. There you go. First, third or fifth. There you go.
Tonic.
You're welcome.
So I've started gigging with my granddad. He's a drummer.
Oh,
Brought him
that's
out of
so
retirement, so we're going out as a duo. We'll go out with a trio as well with Lee.
Yeah.
And he's just been getting all the praise though. Like, so I just go out on my own usually, and we've been doing gigs, and everyone's been going, "Oh, you're an amazing drummer," and I'm just packing my guitar up.
It's like, well, fine.
It's the only time I've ever seen singers ignored.
It's like every gig I'm doing is being ignored. Yeah. We found it, didn't we, at the gig we did?
Yeah.
It was just like,
But within the first 10 minutes of them playing, he introduced his granddad. And the crowd started going, "Go on, Grandad!" And that was it. Like,
Is that what
was
they
it.
call
He stole
him?
the show.
yeah,
He's just called Grandad.
Yeah, pretty
Or
much,
do-
yeah.
That's it. Is his stage name now, Grandad.
That's so
Shout out to
cute.
Big Al.
Yeah. What's his name?
Alan.
Alan.
Yeah.
Big
My
Al.
middle name as well, Big Al.
Oh, Big Al and Little Al.
Little Al. Hey.
Yeah, Little Al. Little Al probably is more likely.
Yeah, but it's
so
it's mad. It's mad life we live though, innit? I mean, I had an upbeat gig on Saturday, and then you go and do a christening on the Sunday. It was a good gig, but you've got kids like throwing bloody them plastic balls at you, like like it, when you used to go play areas as a kid, and you got them sort of, I don't know what they are, like inflatable
like a ball
things.
pit.
Yeah, but you got the sort of, you have the shapes, and you kind of what are they like? I don't know what material
They're made
they
of like
are.
foam or something.
Yeah, sort of foam kind of thing, and they're just flying, and I can hear in my ear, in the monitors, my granddad just going, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And there's like this thing flying at him nowhere, like smashing into his drum kit and stuff. So you get everything, don't you, as a singer?
Oh, that reminds me. I had a stripper at my gig on Saturday.
Oh, yeah,
I just
go
told
on.
you about this.
Stripper?
Yeah. Well, basically.
Dancing to your music? Or is it separate act?
No.
She was the headliner.
I think I would have stopped. I wouldn't have been able to compete with it. I'll explain that a bit later. But basically, there was a 30th birthday going on, as well as a 60th birthday, another birthday. It was about 4 birthdays. It's the only time I've been clapped for singing "Happy Birthday" and remembering all the names.
I thought you were going to say the
But
words.
this pub was absolutely packed.
Sorry.
I didn't do the stripping. I will admit that. No one wants to see that, to be fair. But anyway, they go, oh, have they told you what's going on? I was like, no. They go, oh, yeah, they've got a stripper for the 30th birthday girl. I was like, oh, brilliant. Like, something else I can't compete with. Cheers. Just destroy my ego halfway through a gig. Yeah, anyway, they decided to go outside, which I thought was a bit weird because it was a bit cooler out there. I was wondering if he was going to go shy.
Oh, it was a male stripper. I assumed it was a female stripper. I don't know why.
Yeah, male stripper. It was a 30th birthday for a female.
Sure.
Lady.
Thanks for the layman.
Yeah,
lady.
just in case you didn't understand the female bit. Yeah, he comes in, I just see the size of his forearms and thought, well, if there's anything to go by. Yeah, I'm not going to want to see this, so I just left him to it, to be fair.
You got his number? Or?
No, I didn't want to know him. I didn't want him to come to any of my shows.
Fuck you.
Shut me up.
I always find that like our job's tough to get up. I reckon comedian is like probably one of the hardest.
Yeah.
Stripper as well. I actually sort of know a stripper. That sounds weird, but not through that, obviously, just as a friend. But that must be a tough gig as well. Like, imagine if that's not really going. Like, let's imagine no one's really interested or like.
No one's reacting. They're just sitting there like that.
That must be a tough gig. That.
Yeah, that must be horrible. It's so crushing.
Yeah, you think sometimes this is tough what we do, but imagine turning up to the wrong gig, like, you know, you've been booked as a joke or something, and it's just that must
the
be
lad
tough.
starts swatting you because it's a male stag doing it. He's definitely not gay, so he's going to swat you.
Right, we'll call it there for a quick break because we're nearly at the half. Do you remember this from last time? Yeah, we've got half an hour, and then we'll get into our main topic for today, which is obviously talking about songwriting.
Cool.
So we'll see you in a minute. Cheers.
Cool.
Hello, it's me, Preston's biggest dick, and I'm not talking about my attitude problem. Help! I need somebody! Well, Tony at Tin Pan Alley Guitars helps. He's very good for your services, setups, part replacement, and much, much more. I've had many of my guitars fixed by Tony, just from his house in his little workshop, and he does a fantastic job. So, to find out more about it, go onto Tony's Facebook page, Tony Helps, or type in Tin Pan Alley Guitars on Facebook, and you will see the range of guitars that Tony has fixed and also put together himself. He also does charity auctions to raffle off guitars that he has fixed up, all for good causes. So, without further ado, go and check him out. Back to the episode.
Hi. Hiya.
Hiya, love.
Hi, love.
Hiya, you alright? My friend did that as our sound check at a gig. I was like, hiya, love, you alright?
My mate just shouts big dick at the top of his voice.
No, it does not.
He does.
Very immature.
You get that when you go 1, 2, and there's always something that goes 3, 4.
Yeah.
Oh, always.
3, 4.
It's like, well done.
Right, welcome back to the One More Songcast. We're into part 2, and we're going to discuss our topic for today, which is songwriting. So we've got 2 experienced songwriters today, maybe one slightly less experienced songwriter, but we're going to go through all the sort of various parts of the episode. So we're going to start with generating ideas and how those ideas have come to you. There's obviously many strange ways that's happened. You hear the famous ones in dreams and whatever else. We'll start off with you, Shelli. Is there any ideas that have come to you in really weird situations or unnatural settings?
I'm trying to think. I think I talked about this last time, but like my last single before this one, that was like the chorus just kind of came to me, and I was just like, I've got to have robbed this from somewhere. Must have. And then I was just like, I'll write it anyway. I'll put it all together anyway. And then when it comes clear to me what I've stole it from, I'll just abort the song. Yeah. And it never happened. It's so strange when that happens, when it's just like, it just comes out of nowhere, completely just like, that's where the idea of the muses in Greek mythology comes from, I guess, isn't it? Because like these ideas just happen in your brain. It's like, how? Like my new single, North, actually, like that also completely just kind of flowed out of me when I was just, like I was saying to Luke during the break, that like it was kind of an amalgamation of living in London and hating it and like missing living in the north, and then also the 7th season of Game of Thrones being on TV and like the Starks coming back to Winterfell, so it was like an amalgamation of those two ideas, and like from that just the song just came out of me. Well, it was a poem at first actually, because I wasn't really writing songs at the time. I just wrote the words and I was like, I'll use this for something one day. So I don't know about like unusual things, unusual settings. Unfortunately, I'm yet to have a dream where I wake up and I've got a fully formed song.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that because I don't know about you, but I tend to have really weird dreams when I get into deep sleep. So I would love to know what song's going to come out of that.
Yeah.
And I'd 100% release it immediately with no promotion, just like chance it.
Guys, you've got to listen to this.
Guys, get on Spotify now. Now, the weirdest one I've heard, I don't know if you've had any famous ones where you've heard like band songs. So there's 3 that come to mind. So Ruben
Killing
actually...
Moon.
No.
Okay,
no.
You go. You see.
Ruben wrote one. I can't think of what it was called, but it was really. They're a grunge band.
Okay.
And they had one where they wrote it about an album, like another band's album.
They wrote a song about an album.
Yeah, I've heard 2 scenarios of that. Frank Turner actually wrote one about quitting smoking.
Wait, which one? Which song?
Oh Christ! Now you're asking. We'd have to go through the back catalogue. But the weirdest one I've heard is Tool wrote a complete album, and it was either The Grudge or Schism, something like that, where they literally decided all the riffs off playing cards. They rolled dice to decide which rhythm and time signature they were going to be in.
That's fucking cool. Oh my God.
Mate, it was like the weirdest board game you've ever seen. But there's a song called The Grudge, and the guitarist, the bassist, and the drummer swap their themes. It literally rotates around for 9 minutes. It's absolutely unbelievable stuff.
That's cool.
Did you get good results from it then?
Oh, it's their best album by far.
Yeah. What's the album called?
I think it's Lateralis, actually. Lateralis.
Okay.
The first track on it's The Grudge. And it's just a riff that literally goes... It's 2 notes.
Okay.
But it's unbelievable.
I feel like I'm ready for Tool now. I feel like I've never really got it. And now I feel like my appreciation for music, I think probably because I'm writing more music, and I've also just like, maybe I've got more people. Turn your phone off.
The way I was told to introduce myself to Till was listen to Enema first, because it's a bit more singles.
Yeah, more accessible.
Although they do have a track where there's someone reading the recipe for hash cakes in German.
Okay.
So if you ever want to learn a bit of German and you want to make hash cakes at the same time,
I could speak a bit of German. That was immediately tickled my interest, because I was like, I'll be able to test my vocabulary. That is a band that I think I would appreciate now, having never really got them, just because I've always been into more like big epic melody stuff of whatever genre. That is also always been my thing, and I think now, because I know a bit more music theory and everything, I think I appreciate that kind of thing a lot more. So I think
it's quite dark. I don't listen to them. If I'm going to listen to Tool, I listen to the full album. I don't go.
You can't just dip
You can't just stick a song of theirs in a playlist. You have to listen to the whole thing.
Kind of thing.
Okay.
So do you think it's more songwriting? I mean, obviously it's different for everybody, but do you think it's more a spiritual thing, an idea comes to you rather than actually sitting down at a table and going, right, today I'm going to write a song about this? It doesn't tend to go well when you do that, does it? Or as well?
Well, yeah, I mean, I've got one song that I've had a lot of compliments about. I never play it live just because it's got a lot of sections. It's called Hirayeth.
Yeah.
Don't know how to pronounce it. I feel like every time I say it, it's a bit different. Yeah, I think every time I say it on the song, it's a bit different. But maybe that's it, because it's a Welsh word meaning like homesickness, but also it can mean like longing for something that never really, like a place that never really existed, which I think is a really beautiful concept, because it's like, I understand that, even though it's very abstract and strange. But that song, I actually wrote that when I was for one thing, I was like, I want to write a song about my grief because I was, I'd kind of been messed around by this guy, said he was going to leave his girlfriend for me, decided not to, and there was a lot of toing and froing, so it was a difficult situation, so that's what my whole first EP, Feral Heart, is about. And this song, I wanted to write one that was a bit more using the music theory stuff that I'd learned quite recently, and also that really expressed a lot of grief. And that's why there's this kind of like, at the beginning, there's this kind of like howling, like, what do you even call it?
Yeah, it's
It's supposed to sound like kind of like a Nordic chanty kind
totally
of
get what
thing.
you mean, but I can't think of like what you would define it as.
I don't know what the word is for that. But it's just like a wordless kind of howling.
It's just
kind of
expression,
cry.
Isn't it, of something?
That's it. It was meant to just be like, basically. But like melodic.
Do a Pat Metheny and just start screaming, like play a really nice jazz piano bit and then go, and then carry on.
Definitely was a little bit.
It's almost like vocal solos, isn't it? It's
I'm trying to do a lot more of that in my music, but that was kind of the start point of it. And I also remember, I can't remember how to play this song now because I've never played it live. I just recorded it a year ago and fuck knows how it goes. But there's I'd recently, and this is so bad, this is how poor my music theory is. I'd only recently learned about like chord progressions, so like like the 7 chords that you will have
in the key,
in a key. And I'd learned about how like the traditional thing is like you use 1, 4, 5 and 6 in a song, in like a pop song. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try and like subvert that and use some of the more unusual ones, and in weird places like the 7th is like the 2nd chord and things like that. And I also wanted to have a little bit of like I just wanted it to have a lot of like sections, and I wanted it to be long. So I did kind of approach it really methodically. It just wasn't as instinctive as like all my other stuff was at all. And it was just because I was like, I really want to do something different, and I want to push myself. So that's probably the only time I've really done that. But I have since kind of been like, oh, I can do that though, and it can yield quite good results. So I'm going to like trust, rather than waiting for the idea to come to me, I suppose, which is what you do when you have those moments, those like muse moments, and people are going to think I'm talking about Matt Bellamy because I was such a Matt Bellamy stan, but I'm not. I mean, the muses, those moments where it just lightning bolt to the head and you've got the idea in there. Like those, rather than waiting for those moments to come.
Do you feel
just like,
I was thinking about this morning actually, so I'm trying to I feel like with social media and with all the distractions that we have around us now, it's more than ever. So do you feel like that limits your ability to find the songs? Because I was thinking this the other day, like I'm trying to sit down with music more and just listen to records that I like and stuff, because I just feel like you'll get home from a gig, you'll watch some telly, your mind will be flooded with just nonsense, like you're scrolling through your phone, and those ideas don't come to you as much, I don't find. Do you find that as well? The more time you spend on idle stuff just because it's there, like on social media basically,
absolutely,
it limits your ability to come up with these ideas. I think your mind isn't ready for it almost.
I think so. When I was younger, I remember I was a very prolific songwriter when I was much younger, and I just never really did anything with it, just out of confidence, but I still, or lack of confidence, but I've still got all of that stuff now, and I'm trying to use it. And a lot of that was written when I was like literally walking home from college, because it was like, I didn't have like anything to play music on. I didn't have a smartphone because I don't think they existed then. Maybe they did. Anyway,
I would think they were probably just starting when I was in college, to be fair.
So like just like walking for like about an hour from college, because I was just too cheap to like spend money on like £2 on the bus from college to the station. I was like, oh, it's fine, it's only an hour's walk. I wrote so much in that time, and I would just memorize it, because I'd be like, I can't write this down right now because I don't have anything to like write on, or I don't want to stop in the rain, so I'm just gonna like repeat it to myself over and over and over again. And I'm like using some of that stuff now. It was written so long ago,
but if you're using college now, and then you had an hour's walk. You'd just be
I
scrolling
never
on
fucking
TikTok
write
all the
anything.
way home.
I would be listening to a podcast or like music on my way home.
That's what I miss about like childhood and stuff, is like you had so much idle time to just be in your own head, but in a positive way. Yeah, I feel like that's becoming harder and harder to do now.
I think I get that inspiration in stages. So like the odd time I'll have to just go and buy a newspaper, not to
The Sun?
find out what's going on. No, definitely not the Sun.
Good.
Shit houses. I've got no problem saying that.
Oh, you're a Liverpool fan?
Yeah.
Go on.
not touching that
Damn
scum
fucking
paper.
straight.
Anyway,
Justice for the 96.
Daily Mail.
97 now, not even 97.
Is it 97 now?
Yeah. The one,
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought he
well,
was already included, the kid who died afterwards.
Yeah. It was a few years ago that it went to 97 because I think one of the survivors went, so they count it as a 97 now. But anyway, we digress. No, I'll just go and buy a newspaper now to just see if there's anything worth writing about.
Okay.
And which point I can attack it from. Do I attack it from a media standpoint? Do I attack it from like put myself into that person's shoes? Because I used to do a lot of that when I was younger. So I think there was one time there was a tsunami in Japan. And I wanted to put myself in the shoes of a survivor who's just lost their home due to it literally getting blown away. And it was just to literally submit a piece of college work. We were doing a composition task, and it was like we had to use certain techniques, and it was a way to use it. So if I had a subject, I could work out how I was going to use the instruments. And it was, I used to do stuff like that, but I find my tunes a little bit more simplistic now. So I'm listening to a lot of other bands for inspiration, and then you just end up like a lot of the time the song has to come to you fully formed. Otherwise, it doesn't happen. Because as soon as you try to force a situation when you're writing a simple song, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I find helpful is just going like if I've got like half an idea, and like I know, I mean, this is for melody specifically, actually, I think. If I've got like half an idea and I need to, like, I feel like I'm not getting anywhere with it, I will just either go on like a bike ride, just with no music on, or like one time I just kind of got in the shower, because I needed a shower anyway. It wasn't just like...
I'll deal with this later.
But also like just meditating, things like that, just when you're in silence. Or doing something repetitive or whatever, but like, just in silence, like it's the silence that you need, I think, to just let your brain operate. And sometimes, because I live on my own, so sometimes I'll just sing ideas until I hit on something good. And I'll be like, quick, record this.
I think that's the thing as well. When you're generating these ideas, it does depend on what style of music you're playing a lot of the time. Because, yes, all of us can get a guitar out or get a piano about, like just improvise around chords. But if you're playing prog metal, tech metal, something's got to be methodically worked out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because it's not just verse, chorus. You have to then plan the sections out. You could have first verse, breakdown. Then there could be there might be no chorus. You might do a song that says section A, section B, section C.
Yeah.
So I think there is an element to it where it is genre dictated as to how you write a song.
Yes, I totally... Oh shit, sorry, I just realised I'm supposed to be talking into the mic. We're just having a lovely chat. Yes, I totally agree with that. And like what we tend to do in my band, I don't know if you do this. I thought you were pointing at yourself. I was just like... Well, fuck you, am I boring you? Sorry.
For Spotify listeners, Lee's recording bits on his phone.
Yeah, I was just trying to do some social media. I did warn you about this before that.
Sorry,
Clearly somebody's forgotten.
I forgot.
Yeah, sorry, you were saying.
I don't know what I was saying. So with my band, what we tend to do, I mean, most of the time the songs come from Matt and he brings them like fully formed, but like recently me and him have been collaborating a little bit more because I'll like come up with like a riff or something and then we'll just kind of jam it out and we kind of add end up adding sections and being like, oh yeah, well this would be cool if we went into like 16/8 at this point and it became like a ska thing, or if we go into like make this bit really heavy or whatever, and then the song kind of builds around it. And it's a slow process just because we're so not used to that. And I've written 2 songs in the band, the rest of it is all Matt.
Right,
and there's like 30 other songs. So he's like, very prolific, and he's got his songwriting mindset. But yeah, like I don't know. Yeah, we're trying to kind of like diversify a little bit, I suppose.
Do you know what I find really interesting with songwriting as well is the people that can't play instruments but come up with good songs. Like it's a really generic example, this, but like obviously Liam Gallagher can't play instrument really, can he? But he comes up with some good guitar, ideas.
But that's
he can probably play some basic chords.
Yeah, basic chords, but it's like I find that quite interesting because I'm not a fantastic guitar player or musician. Obviously, I can play guitar, but most of my ideas, just like you say, come from like melody in the shower and stuff like that, and then developing that. So it's interesting how you can just get unique ways. People have their own unique ways of finding ideas, really, don't they?
Sometimes I find that naivety is probably the best thing, because when you don't know what you're doing, you come up with something that's far more creative than someone that knows everything about music theory. I mean, obviously there's exceptions to that rule, but John Lennon, for example, would put a D7 in an E major, with no idea that's not the conventional way.
Yeah. That's important, isn't it?
Yeah. And Richard Ashcroft's probably another example. He's solid on guitar. He's maybe not
rhythm, isn't he?
He's not the best guitarist you'll ever see, maybe, but to write a song like that, lyrically, he's got it. And I think sometimes your lyrics are so important. When you've got something so simplistic, you just let the other musicians play, and they'll probably have just jammed around that idea, around that one verse idea for ages. And that's why half the songs are written in the studio once you get to a certain level, because you're just going to go, right, I've got no idea what this is, but I've got this chord pattern and I've got no idea how it's going to turn out. So let's just play around it and see what we can come up with. And then you just chop it up that way. It's crazy how they do it.
Is that still a thing that happens though? Because like the music industry's changed so much, and like some of my favourite bands like Manic Street Preachers, like there's a few of their songs that have mostly been written in the studio, and it's just like, can you imagine being in the position where you have the time, or someone else is paying for you to just sit in a fucking studio and write just possibly shit?
I think you have to be at a certain level to be able to afford to do it. Because
so it does still happen, do you think?
I think it does happen, but you have to have been around for years for it to be able to. You have to have money in the bank to do it, don't you? Really, because an artist, say, who's just on the cusp of doing something, may have charted a couple of times, probably works quite independently, so the record label aren't going to go and pay for them to spend 3 or 4 weeks in a studio. They might, or go and pay, sometimes it's months, isn't it, when they're writing in the studio.
Well, I know it's a generic example, but like Lewis Capaldi, I was watching his documentary and he was saying that he finds that so overwhelming when the studio's just like, right, where the record label's just like, right, go and write some songs in the studio, and like nothing comes to him that way, if that makes sense. And like the stress that then creates, and the more stress that builds, probably the more you're struggling to write the songs. You've got this pressure. Have you got anything yet? Have you what let's listen to this.
Imagine that.
I wouldn't like that. I find that,
and especially when he's just like had 3 number ones on the bounce, and they're expecting the same or better. Like, nah.
Do you know what I envy sometimes? Like, say Eric Clapton, for example, where he's just walking down the street and he sees like a colour TV window and all that, and he writes a song around really random stuff like that. And it becomes a massive hit, and it doesn't really make sense, does it, until he explains it. Like, imagine having that talent where you can just sort of like sit there on a day on a park bench and like spot random things and start to make
just
music.
Everything inspires
everything's
you.
just like falls together. It's just,
I suppose so, but I think with that, I mean, like, if I'm understanding your point properly, that like it's just, I think your brain is very, very adaptable, and that's the kind of thing. It's like, it's kind of like a muscle. It's like the more you use it, the more you can use it. So I think you just start seeing the world in those terms. And like probably, I would imagine the time when he did that was a time when he was writing a fuck ton. And was just, everything was just, that's how his brain was operating at that point.
That makes sense, yeah.
I think I've tried to do that once. I mean, I was on a train once and I just see this couple arguing. So I decided I had my headphones on. I couldn't hear what they were arguing about. But you can tell by the body language they're arguing, you know, when you see...
Did you not mute what you were listening to and listen?
No.
Really?
No, because in my head, I'll make something up about that.
Sure, okay.
So I had my own agenda. I wasn't interested in them.
Okay, fair enough.
Just the body language gave it away. It was an argument. No,
yeah.
I tried to like conceptualize like what the girl was actually thinking. And you say it, you're almost doing it as telling a story from a third person point of view.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work for me because I hadn't ever practiced that, and it was like. I could tell I was massively overcomplicating it halfway through the second verse. I was like,
okay.
Yeah, I was like halfway through writing it. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do this one.
Really?
I didn't finish it. So I put that on the back burner.
Yeah, because I never like abandon songs. I always just kind of go like, there's bits of this I like that I'll put into something else at some point. I never like just kind of say, this is shit, I'm never using it. Never using any of it. So like...
Yeah, there's a way, I think... I was always taught from a young age, never write anything off completely.
Yeah, totally.
If it's not working, put it to one side and you'll be able to use it in something else. Definitely. I think that's happened now in the last year, maybe about 3 times I've finally found something to work.
Oh yeah, I've got a song that I recently finished few months ago, maybe 2 months ago, and it's literally all just like homeless lyrics that I had in my... I've got a like little notebook that has all my lyrics in it, and I had the chorus. I started writing this chorus ages ago, probably like a year ago. It was, funnily enough, like it was about... it started off being about Richie Edwards, you know, the Manics guitarist and lyricist who disappeared.
Right, yeah.
Started off being about him, but I only had like the chorus, and then I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with this, I'm gonna leave this. And then like a few months ago, I was just like, what would happen if I just got this like little section of like homeless lyrics and just copied and pasted them all into and kept that as the chorus?
Yeah.
And like, I've had so many compliments about that song, which is really interesting. I don't think the compliments are about the lyrics, it's just as opposed to like about the rest of it, like the melody and everything. But yeah, it was just a bit of an experiment.
Yeah, I see.
It's just like a little bit
You've kept the core of what you liked, and then you've added bits in, almost jigsaw bits together.
Yeah, kind of like
cool.
I know it's like called like cut up poetry or something, but I think that's from like using sentences from magazines or whatever. So this was like that, but my own, my own lyrics. So yeah, I guess I'm in I feel like a lot more confident these days about my songwriting, and I'm able to kind of just try different things.
Do you think there's a mind shift as well you have to have as a songwriter, where you have to start, like we were saying, about walking down the street and seeing things and creating? Do you think there has to be a mind shift where you're actively looking for stuff, or do you think it's just be aware of it rather than sort of actively going out there and going, right, what's going on here then? Right, do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. I mean, okay, so I don't know really how to write from anyone else's point of view.
Yeah.
That's something that, like what you were talking about, Lee.
I see.
But
you're writing from a perspective of somebody else.
Yeah. So I've been trying to write something recently, or I've just been thinking about like kind of female rage, right? Which is a thing that is like not allowed, basically. Like women kind of taught to like swallow their anger, and you end up kind of making excuses for guys who treated you badly, for example, and therefore getting into those situations again because anger is self-preservation, essentially. So I've been thinking a lot about that recently, just for reasons we won't go into. So I've been trying to write about that, and I've got some ideas for it. I've got the melody, I've got all of the fucking everything. I've got like a really cool riff for violin and viola because it's like a heavy folk rock song. Yeah. I've got everything, but writing the lyrics is so fucking hard, which I suppose speaks to the fact that I've swallowed this anger, and this is the whole point of the fucking song.
It's weird though, isn't it? Because I always feel like if you get the core of the song, like the melody and everything, I always find the lyrics can flow a bit. It's weird though, isn't it? Everyone's different, but it's...
I think sometimes just one line inspires it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you know what I find I get really jealous of? I've listened to 2 songs where it's all based around one word.
Okay.
One of them's Iraq by Flowbots, and they wrote it in like 2006.
Sure, yeah.
So the whole lines, what they did is the first line started with the letter I, the next one started with the letter R, next one A, and next one Q, and that was the theme for the whole song.
I see.
It's genius. And then later on, one of my mates goes, "Oh, do you ever listen to Ian Brown?" I was like, "No." He goes, "Listen to this." And he played me a song by Ian Brown called Fear. And every line...
the fear, yeah, I know.
And it's basically about controlling governments, but what he'll do is go, for each a Rome, for every man a religion, face everybody and rule, or fight everybody and rule.
So then we go to yeah.
And every line follows that 4-letter pattern. And that starts the words off. I've never been able to
That's clever.
think in that way.
Anagrams, is that what it is?
Yeah, it's literally the whole song is an anagram, and it's absolutely genius the way they do it and seem to make each line relatable.
Yeah. Well, this is it when you start kind of trying new methods, I suppose, for writing, and and you kind of go like, I don't know, like I was saying for me, where I've kind of gone from waiting for the idea to come to me from wherever to kind of like
actively trying to find it.
Actively trying to find it. But doing stuff like that is so much more like proactive, I suppose, because it's just like I've got this structure.
It's like they must do what Eminem did, like where he's just writes a word, finds a word in a dictionary,
that
just
rhymes.
starts writing down, and he's got a whole list of words that rhyme with each other.
Right, yeah.
So then he'll just freestyle over it and pick a couple out.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It's nuts. But going back to that observational one where the guy's walking down the street, Kelly Jones from the Stereophonics actually wrote a song called Traffic, and it's literally his observation for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Just talking about being stuck in traffic. So his opening line is, "We all face the same way, still it takes all day." And then just starts describing the things around him.
All their songs are... Well, I remember like their first album, there's like Local Boy in the Photograph and 1,000 Trees.
Yeah.
And those, and I guess the other stuff, it was all about stuff happening in their town, wasn't it? Which is great. I thought I really liked
It's genius. It's absolutely genius. And anyone that's just able to just write songs like that who's going to be successful, there's no way you can't be successful when you're writing songs like that.
I'm going to stop you there. We're at the end of our time limit.
I was about to ask you a question.
Well, keep that question and we'll continue with it in the next part. All right. See you in a minute. It's me, the legend that is. I'd just like to take a little bit of time out of the episode to promote a certain music shop that I've had really good experience with. So it is Blackstone Music, and it's located in Heskin Shopping Village. Chris Bannister there has been really helpful to me. I had trouble a couple of years ago buying from a sort of commercial superstore one of my acoustic guitars. So I went to Chris and ended up getting a completely new guitar. Ever since, he's helped me with, fixing bits and bats on the guitar, and he's just a really helpful, friendly guy who's always got the time of day for you with music-related questions and stuff like that. So big shout-out to Blackstone Music. As I said, it's in Heskin Shopping Village. Go and have a look at it. They've got some great stuff there and some great service. Back to the episode.
Yeah.
Welcome back to part 3. Are we on now? It's part 3, isn't it? Yeah. We're going to talk about basically original music, the response you get at gigs, and has that shaped the way that you've maybe tweaked bits of songs and stuff like that, and also the production side of things as well. So we were talking off camera about how certain songs have gone from being okay to putting something really silly in or really small that somebody can sing along with, dumbed down almost, and it's become a massive hit. So we were thinking of like Alice, obviously who the fuck is Alice, and all that being added on afterwards and it becoming massive. It's a strange thing, isn't it, music, because the more intelligent ideas sometimes aren't, well, they always aren't always the hits, are they? It's always the little ad-lib that someone can sing with, ho hey or something like that. And it becomes massive, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think that sometimes it just gives the crowd something to shout at a gig.
Yeah, it makes them feel included, and there's something. Yeah, we all love that, don't we? Like the amount of bands I've gone to, and there's like a big sing-along section. They're like, "You now." You're like, yeah. That's great. I love that. We've got a few of those in my band.
Have you?
So like the one that I was thinking of when you were just saying like you had something silly. This is a song that I wrote called Keep It Westy, which is a thing that our old bass player used to say, like, keep it Westy. Don't know what the fuck it means, but it's immortalised now. But it's just like a instrumental, like, jig or reel kind of thing. And there's a bit in it where we, like, there's a gang vocal where we all sing the verse, and like when we were recording it, the producer was just like, I think at the end you need like a hey to then go back into the full song. And that has now evolved into like just random shit. Like one time, our old bass player just came up to me like while we were practicing and just went, oh yeah, in my ear. And then I just creased up giggling and couldn't play the rest of the song. And then it's kind of evolved into like bangarang, cowabunga. We keep kind of like adding to it, which is really fun.
So it's always that, it's sometimes that improvisation in the studio, somebody doing something stupid, but then
it's just gold.
It's like gold, isn't it? Yeah. It's like, for example, when you see songs and it's the title of the song's called something, but in brackets sometimes they put the something song because that's how people remember it. I'm trying to think of an example, but it's got a title, and then it might, for example, Britney Spears, I think it's called something like, but then in brackets it's Hit Me Baby because that's what everybody knows, but it's not called
just Baby
Hit
One
Me
More
Baby.
Time, isn't it?
It's called Baby One More Time, and it's stuff like that, isn't it? Where,
I think well, there's a feeder song they actually wrote for all the fans. The guitar riff, Just a Day, it's called. Yeah, that's the one. So like the riff is like, it's basically a guitar riff and it goes do, 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 do. But I think the producers actually made them sing the riff underneath it. So underneath it, or either side of the riff, you can actually hear the band doing it.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, every time they play live, everyone's going do, 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 do.
Totally.
So is that one of the more successful songs of Matt Heartless, the band, the where you've got that little something a bit crowd friendly? Is that one of your most popular ones?
Matt Heartless and Maverick 7, by the way. So check us out on all the socials. It's one of our. We kind of got into the habit of trying to like have a really slick route through the set, and so like we've got a lot of segues, like transitions in like from song to song, because like we got into the habit of just talking too much in between songs, and Matt was just tuning between every fucking song. It's like, no one cares, it's fine, you're distorted half the time anyway. It's punk. So, well it kind of is as well. So now we're just trying to like just be a slicker operation. Just because, I don't know about you guys, but like whenever I see a band do that, it's so much cooler.
I want to get it to the point where you're transitioning straight into the next song sometimes, because by the time you've changed your capo or you've, like you say, retuned, maybe slightly tweaked something on your desk or something, it's like a minute's gone by and everyone's just staring at you.
Exactly. It's like you don't want to lose everyone's attention.
I'm a nightmare for that, me. I like to have a little breather between songs. But that's that's part of the issue. It's just like we're just kind of having to build our stamina up because it's like no breaks. But that song generally comes in second in the set now, just because we transition straight in from like a mid-tempo one into that, and everyone goes like dancing, and it's really fun. But I guess that's definitely like a live favorite, or like a live kind of like a definite now. It's like always on our set because everyone just dances to it. But another one of our songs where we've got like a gang vocal, which is like it's not even call and response actually, it's just a gang vocal, is Ballad on Moss Side, which is like definitely, like I always joke Ballad on Moss Side.
Ballad of Moss Side.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Did you say Alan?
No, I said cool.
Alan of Moss Side.
Ballad of Moss Side. Yeah.
Alan of Moss Side.
Well, it's about homelessness apparently, because Matt experienced like a brief time of homelessness. I always joke that like the second half of that song is the only reason anyone comes to see us, because it's got this like big gang vocal at the end, and we get everyone to sing along. And people love that. It seems like
weird,
such
isn't
a simple thing, but people just are like, oh, you got to play ballad on my song. Yeah, we always
You need
play
that little sprinkle of something.
yeah.
Magic dust.
Yeah.
It's funny that.
Right, we're going to talk about the response at gigs and how that's maybe shaped your songwriting or the way that you do a song. So I was listening to a podcast. It's actually with James Bay, and that was the question that I beat you on last time, if you remember, in the
Yeah,
quiz.
I still don't know who that is.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's why you lost, Shelli.
Yep. Just not down with the kids.
And he said basically that he would go and do open mics constantly, and if people weren't quite responding the way that he wanted to in sections of his song, he'd go back and rewrite stuff and then go and do it again. And is that ever something that you've changed from gigging, whereas this never works, this bit, or this song never works, people disengage from it, I'm going to go back and rewrite bits? Or is that just the finished product is the finished product, deal with it sort of thing?
Absolutely fucking not. I do not. No, fuck them. I'll do what I want. And like, I heard this brilliant thing that Stephen Fry said, right? And it's just, I just basically want it engraved on my soul because it's so important. He said that, it's just one of these fucking showbiz anecdotes. Well, one time I was in the Groucho Club talking to Damien Hirst about art, but like, that's Stephen Fry's life, we believe him. That definitely happened. And he was like, they were talking about what makes an artist. And Damien Hirst was saying like, but everyone is an artist. And Stephen Fry was like, I don't agree. I'm a people pleaser. I'm an entertainer. I want people to love me. Yeah. Artists are the people who do whatever the fuck they want. And that has stayed with me. I'm just like, actually, that's and that's why I won't change things. It's like, if I think it's good, these people are just either going to have to not listen to it or get on board, and like those are the two options.
I think there's an element of both.
Well, that's probably the conflict in the music business as well, isn't it? Because if you want to make it to the quote-unquote top or be chart-friendly, you're probably not doing it for yourself, are you? No. You're probably doing it for being famous.
And you've got a whole committee behind you saying, like, wear this, don't say that, do that. Just completely moulding your personality.
We need this much back. We need this much back. This number of record sales. So then that's where I think sometimes, like, musicians who listen to maybe bands who aren't as well known say, oh, yeah, they've sold out.
Yeah.
They'll listen to a band, they've sold out. I think it's harder to sell out now because we're in a world where social media has dictated it, where it's got to be authentic now. You almost there has to be an element of authenticity.
Yeah, or people will know, and they're just like, really just cringe.
I think with the way that works, I think I had it years ago where I was always like, no, I think the music industry needs to change for me, so I'm going to stick to my guns. I'm going to put this weird chord in there. I'm going to play that song in that time signature and make it popular. But you come to a realisation where you sort of listen back to that song and think, that's just fucking totally random. Why have I done that?
But
it doesn't make musical sense.
But it's part of but we were talking about that earlier, right? And how like that naivety and not knowing that you can't put an E minor chord next to D7 is like part of the magic of like certain song. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like, I think that's good.
I think there has to be a way you do it. Like Biffy Clyro do it really well, and they're so subtle with a lot of the technical stuff that they actually play.
Yes. Now, here's the thing. This is going to get you some fucking letters. Do you know what I can't stand?
This is going to be the title, this.
Fucking OK Computer, right? But
really?
When that came out,
maybe not.
Everyone was like, this has changed the world. This is fucking incredible. And it's still heralded as one of the best albums. I think it's just too subtle for me. But they literally did change music.
Yeah.
Nothing would be the same if that album hadn't come out. And I don't even know how many, I know a weird amount about Radiohead considering I don't like them. But like, because they get talked about a lot, I suppose. But like, they spent a really long time in the studio just overthinking every single thing, and look how it turned out for them. Yeah. That's how it can go really well. Yeah. Like they just were like kind of arrogant enough to just be like, let's just do whatever the fuck we want.
It's right. I know it's so cliche, but it's right place, right time as well, isn't it? If there's a particular political conflict or something where you can just hone in on that and create a bit of a movement almost at the right time.
Yeah, I think
it's like that was probably what that was as well.
I think so, and I think also my suspicion with Radiohead is that like they got away with doing so much kind of risky, we're potentially torpedoing our career. Every single album that they did was probably because they're all white guys who went to private schools.
Yeah.
So people do think, oh, you guys probably know better than us what's good.
Yeah.
We're just going to follow your lead. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? I have a suspicion about that. I can't prove it, obviously,
No.
but it does make me kind of wonder if, like, and I say this as a Mannix fan because, like, they've also done some fucking weird albums and got trashed in the press for it. And it's like, what's the difference, really? It just went weird for a bit.
I think, like you say, it is about timing because, you know, from the mid-noughties, you had Frank Turner, who came out of this hardcore band
You
and
Million
then
Dead.
went into this folk punk sort of idea.
Yeah.
And then about 3-4 years later, all these folk bands started to get big hits, like Mumford and Sons and all that lot started to get big hits. If he had come out 4 years later, do you think he would have got the same reaction as
Well,
them?
I know that him and Marcus Mumford were like on the same scene. There's like and Laura Marling and that. They were all kind of contemporaries. So I guess I'd never thought about the fact that maybe he was but he also went to Eton. So
Right.
there's another thing. Yeah, there's another very middle class white boy thing where people are just like, let's follow him. He knows what he's talking
But
about.
you wouldn't believe
You know?
it from what he writes about. And what he listens to.
I think he doesn't like to, because, you know, when you're on the punk scene and you went to a private school, that's a difficult line to tread. I'd imagine he's got nothing but grief for it, so he probably doesn't like to talk about it. But I do agree that he's a trailblazer and he's amazing. I love him. And he's really nice. He's emailed me a couple of times.
All right.
Not out of the blue. I've sent him an email
Hi,
first.
Shelley.
And he's a lovely man.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah.
Well, we'll talk about production a little bit as well.
Sorry.
Oh, no, not at all. Sort of still on this sort of resistance to the music and the conflict that you might have between getting something that somebody likes and something that you like and you being comfortable with that. Production, have you ever been to a studio, and yourself, Lee, where you love the song, you love the structure, and then you go to a studio and someone just tears it apart and goes, well, if you want it played on radio, this is how it's got to be. I've had it a little bit.
Have you?
Mine was just because I literally was 6 months into even singing or anything. I'd wrote these awful songs. I went and went to somebody's house who was a songwriter, and he basically said that every one of them were shit, and they were shit. I know that now, but what I'm saying is that happens in studios as well, doesn't it? And production, especially if you want radio play.
Yeah, I think it's not necessarily, from my experience, it wasn't necessarily that. Basically, the producers I go to, Sugar House Music on their Instagram or TikTok, wherever you get your social media from. I don't know why that made sense in my head.
It did make perfect sense.
Anyway, I went into the studio and I come up with this song, Live for the Weekend, and it was
yes.
in my head. It was a country song. It was like a country pop rock tune.
Sure.
And when we went into the studio, it just became an indie rock song. Just because of the sounds we used, I was like, the drum beat, I'm just thinking, like, there was only one drum beat I had the idea of that made it into the song.
Okay.
But everything I'd imagined up to that point was going in, and it was like, this is how it's going to sound. And when it got to the lead guitar, that's when it went to that indie rock sound completely. So then the only thing I hadn't written was any lead guitar parts for it. I'd had an idea of one, but I literally started playing at the producers like, no, that's not it. It wasn't that shit. It was, that's not it. It's not what it needs, sort of thing. And they literally cut out half a verse of mine because they were like, yeah, it just needs to move on. So it's like they know how, they've got quite a few tunes where they've ended up on radio and stuff like that, or
Yeah, so you
working with
trust
big up and upcoming bands. So I had that idea of like, right, whatever they say kind of goes. I'll say my point, but if they say no, cut it out, it gets cut.
I don't know if I could do that.
So is that not how you approach it? Do you just go, right, I'm here, I'm paying you the money for the studio time or whoever it is, this is how I want to do it?
So I don't have like professional per se studio experience in the same way, because like my EP was just my friend who'd done like recently done a course of music production. I was like, do you want to record my album, my EP? And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And then now my friend Mike Gruber, who is just, I love him so much. He's one of my favorite people on this earth. But he has been producing my stuff since then, and he's got a huge amount of experience producing. But it's something that like we do for free, like in the wee hours of like Monday mornings, and he we do like collaborate quite a lot. Like, he started playing guitar for me because he's an amazing guitarist, and I just can't be asked really to get any better. So he's been like playing a lot of guitar for me, and I asked him the other day, because sometimes when someone's like really positive with you and you're just like, are you just being polite? Because at this point it's ridiculous. And I was just like, do you actually think these songs are good? Would you tell me if you thought it was shit? And he was like, oh yeah, no, I would. I was like, okay, good.
I was a bit like that with you, weren't I? When I first started writing that tune, I was like, does it sound all right to you, Lee? Is it something you was like, yeah? And it's like you say, you don't believe people sometimes.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, it's got to have something about it. It doesn't necessarily have to be what I like. When I'm listening to someone else's song, I don't necessarily have to like the style of music, like the type of song. If it makes musical sense to me, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
So I can appreciate what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
I've
Even
heard
if it's
other
not for
bands.
you.
Yeah, I've heard other bands do something. It's like, no, I don't get what you're intending to do.
Can you
here.
give an example? Name and shame.
No, I honestly can't, to be honest, because things go out your head anyway.
Yeah.
But like, I have heard people
Shitbag.
before, and it was like, I think the only example I've got is someone was doing a cover. And they literally forgot the lyrics to Ain't No Sunshine, which is one of the easiest ones.
I know, and it's just that.
And he just started honestly, he started going into this random rockabilly jingle that was really upbeat, and then going back into Wonder This Time Where She's Gone. I'm like,
it's just like,
what are you
so
doing?
are you happy about it?
It's like, at what point was that going to work?
Yeah.
Like, if he had gone into like around like building something around the A minor chord off that, and it was quite slow and
sad, yeah.
Yeah, it would have worked, but to go into why are you doing that?
That's such like a kind of beautifully melancholic song. It's just like, why would you think you can improve it with some rockabilly nonsense?
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I think as long as I can understand something, I may not necessarily like it, that would be the way I would react as a producer.
Yeah, I get that.
I think you'd have to react to what the person's doing and think, right, how can I get the best out of this? And that's obviously what the producer's job is.
Yeah. No, I would definitely like to actually try working with someone that I don't have a previous relationship with, and just see how that goes.
The cliche in music is always, in songwriting, you always hear is don't be too precious over your music, isn't it? Especially when... But like you say, you would struggle, do you think, with someone dissecting your song and going, nah, that bit's not right, and because then you lose control, don't you? It's a fine line, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely happy to take on constructive criticism. But like, yeah, in terms of the structure being changed and stuff, like, I don't think I could handle that at all. I think, like, I agree, not being too precious. I think it's important not to be too precious about your art generally, whether you're a painter or a songwriter or whatever you are. It's really important to just be like, yep, that's done, on to the next one. Because, do you know what I mean? So that's what I would mean
in terms of spending too much time on it.
Yeah, like not rewriting things and things like that. I think just like know when something's finished, or accept when something's finished and move on. But I do think that, I can't imagine being okay with the structure of any of my songs being altered by someone. I think I would just be like, no, this, because like I spend a long time over, I suppose because like, maybe it's because my stuff is a lot more like vocal, like melody driven.
Yeah.
I don't know like how that would compare to your stuff, because you're pretty melodic, aren't you?
Yeah. I tend to do things like, I've always been a guitarist that prefers, rather than someone just shredding it, playing at 160 notes a second, an hour. Christ, that's a long song. Sludge and prog all mixed into
again.
one. No, 160 notes per second. Like, I'd rather someone like a John Mayer, or there's a YouTube guitarist called Chris Buck who literally makes his guitar sound like a vocal. It's like, that connects with me miles better than someone that can literally play everything really fast.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
So I've always been someone, even when I was listening to metal music, I always preferred the melodic ideas to be really good, as opposed to like the screaming section. Again, if that was rhythmically really good, then I could I could get on board with the screaming. But if I found that it was a full song of screaming and it was just like blast beats and really thrashy, I'd lose interest.
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
like, well, no, you're now just in a race.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of emphasis put on speed when you're a lead instrumentalist. Like it's with violin as well. It's the same thing. And there's some like people. You just made me think of this as completely off topic.
Yeah.
But like, do you guys know Paganini? He was like very, very famous composer and violinist,
Okay.
and he
Yeah.
was like considered like he sold his soul to the devil.
It sounded like a
Yeah,
footballer.
right.
Sure.
Paganini.
But yeah, people thought he like sold his soul to the devil because he was so good, and we don't know if that's true because there was no recording devices back then. But like the fact that he, like when you listen to some of his stuff that he's written, it's very much the thing that violinists learn to show their virtuosity, but like to this day. But it's like it's not fucking musical, most of it. There's a few bits here and there, like phrases and stuff, which sound amazing. I think that's him. Yeah, it is. But then it just goes mental. And the point is to show how good you are at playing violin rather than to create music.
Yeah.
And it's just like, like again, that is art
Showing
from my
off, but it's
own
showing
description
off, yeah.
from earlier, and I completely appreciate that. But also, like, don't like it.
Yeah,
This is rubbish.
I think with stuff like that where they're using extended techniques and everything, that obviously came from like serialism and just saying, right, instead of actually writing something that's in the conventional way, we're going to figure out what this instrument can actually do.
Totally, yeah.
You can kind of get
That's
on
it.
board with some of it. Others of it, it's just right. Let's blend all these horrible noises together, and that's music.
Yeah.
Because it's making a sound out of something. It's like, almost felt to me like some of it was like, right, you're doing it now to prove a point. What?
Yeah.
I think
that happens with a lot of music.
Yeah.
Look what I can do.
Yeah. Do you remember that woman off? Do you remember that woman off X Factor? She sang like 50 styles in one thing, and it was just shit.
Was it?
She was like, yeah, but I'm singing 50 styles in 30 seconds, and it was like, yeah, but it's shit.
When
Yeah,
you're doing stuff like that, you have to do it well.
Yeah, that's like Darius
Oh right, yeah.
when he sang like "Hit Me, Baby, One More Time" for his pop stars back in the day audition, but he was just going between the harmonies and showing how well he could do it. And it was like, and I just remember Simon Cowell's reaction being, "You came in here and did something very strange today."
Did you ever listen to Real Big Fish being ska punk?
Yeah.
There's one of their songs, I can't remember, but it's a live version on one of their live albums. It's absolutely genius. So they've got this song called Suburban Rhythm.
Okay.
And it's
I don't know
like
them very
basically, whatever happened to Suburban Rhythm? Why did Ed and Scott quit? What they do with it, they just stop it like 2 minutes in and go, no, that song needs a lift. So they just go to old school punk. Then they go, right, no. It's just, that's not right. Go into another style, and they go through about 9 styles. They've done it perfectly. If you're ever going to do something like that, follow that example. It was genius. They went into death metal at one point, disco, hip hop. It like literally did it like Run DMC. It was absolutely class.
That's a great idea. I'm gonna have to listen to that.
But yeah, it was just for their live thing. I was gutted when I went to see them and they didn't play it. But it's probably run its course by then. So
Maybe, yeah.
So if you're approached by, I don't know, your music's very sort of maybe if Game of Thrones come to you and they go, oh, we love your tune, you know.
I mean, it's finished. Do you mean House of the Dragon?
Yeah, maybe as it was being made, and you know they love your tune, but they're gonna mess around with it and do this and that. But obviously you're making loads of money off it, and where do you draw that line? Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, like honestly, I think everyone's got their price, haven't they?
Yeah. We're all for sale.
We're all for sale. Yeah, it's just a matter of how much for each of us. So yeah, I don't know. There's probably some things like, I'm trying to think of an example, but there's definitely some situations where I would almost certainly be like.
I do know a couple of examples of this. So when I was at uni, my composition lecturer was he was actually a film and games composer. So for one game, it was Shift 2 Unleashed, which is a driving game. It was built off the back of Need for Speed.
Right.
Yeah.
They took a song called Night of the Hunter from 30 Seconds to Mars, and also they took Mountains by Biffy Clyro and made them into orchestral versions. Oh. And like they had him re-recording bits for him like It was done so well, but if you listen to that standalone, it just sounds really weird. Just hearing like these cinematic sounds with Simon Neil going, I am a mountain, right over the top of it. It just almost doesn't sound right, but it worked. Night of the Hunter, by the way, sounded absolutely unreal with it.
I only know the one song by 30 Seconds to Mars because I used to go out with someone who looked a little bit like Jared Leto, like massive blue eyes. And like we were watching the video once and I was, this video, it was just ridiculous. It was like he's a samurai.
Oh, The Kill.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, I think it's called The Kill.
There's just like so many kind of excuses for him to just look at the camera looking really hot with his shirt off. It's just like that's what the whole video is. I mean, I'm not complaining, but it's a little bit, transparent. But yeah, like that's the only song I know by them, and he's got some fucking pipes. Hasn't he got a cult now, Jared Leto?
Oh.
He's got a cult.
Really?
Okay.
There's some island where he's got a cult.
Right.
I don't know what goes on in Hollywood.
Yeah, I've got nothing to contribute to that.
Really weird things happen in Hollywood. I can just say that.
Yeah. Definitely ends up scrambling your brain. What were we meant to be talking about?
Well, yeah, just more. I mean, we're running out of time now. Anyway, we're gonna have a quick break, but yeah, just more like where that tipping point comes. It's like it's like when you see like a lot of people's first albums, you really fall in love with like their style, and you can tell they're very raw, and it's very much about what they created. Then the second and third albums are very like then generic and made for the charts, and that loses me a lot.
Sure,
George Ezra being an example. I love George Ezra's influences when he first started. It was very like bluesy, and he had this really soulful voice. But now he's just so like, I'll be riding shotgun. This is very much like, I just think, I wonder how he feels about that, because he's not the same as what he used to be.
But don't you think? I mean, so much of it's like the first album is like kind of easy to put together because you've been writing for years. And your second album, it's like you're under duress. You've got this contractual obligation to get another one out in a year, and you've suddenly got to write the same amount of songs, and that's almost certainly why they tend to be less good.
I think a lot of people feel that about like the likes of the Killers, Arctic Monkeys are another example, the Kooks even.
Oh God, remember the Kooks?
I saw them last year in February. They were absolutely amazing.
Were they?
Yeah.
So they're still
such
going.
a good live band.
Okay. That surprises me.
Well, they've got that kind of like clunky, funky sort of guitar riff sort of sound. You see how tight they actually are.
Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable. But I think some bands even go the other way, where it's like, right, okay, yeah, we've done the commercial success bit. Right, now we're going to do what we want to do. Yeah. And I think it does solely depend on how the record label reacts and normally how young they are. So like the Arctic Monkeys were never great with the media, and I think they had a particular sound for a number of years.
Yeah.
And now they've just gone, nah, sod it. Like, forget all that. We're not with this raw.
Obviously,
band.
wealth plays a part in that as well.
Yeah,
because the more financially stable you are, then the more it's less about the money, then, isn't it? As well.
That's true.
Yeah. Right. So, go on. Go on.
I forgot to.
You've got 30 seconds. It's like radio.
It's not enough time. It's not enough time to
keep that thought then. I know you had a thought from the last one as well, but we'll see you shortly.
Hello, it's Lee from the One More Songcast. I do apologise about interrupting your episode, but this is a public service announcement. Now, we need people to like, share, subscribe and follow us across social media, YouTube and the podcast platforms. It would really help us to reach more people, reach musicians like ourselves and reach just people who like listening to podcasts. So, across TikTok, Instagram and Facebook, you can find us at TomsCast1 or just simply the One More Songcast on YouTube or your favourite podcast platform, including Apple Podcasts. So, don't forget to download, rate and review on your podcast platform. Get in our comments, like, share, subscribe on YouTube. And also, just follow everything we generally do across social media. Cheers. I'll let you get back to your episode now.
Right, we're on to part 4, potentially our final part of the episode this afternoon. So I hope you've enjoyed it so far. We want to give a big shout out to Stephanie, who's actually in the studio this afternoon. She hires out the space. Well, lets us hire out the space, and she's even made some mugs for us as well. So big shout out to Stephanie.
We've left them over there, so we can't even show them.
I was just trying to find it like blindly, but no.
Also, before we continue, thanks to everyone who got us to 100 subscribers and 2,500 listens.
I think it was Shelli's episode that propelled us to that number. So.
Was it?
I'm not sure. It was a good episode, to be fair.
Thank you.
Right, so we're going to talk about... Well, actually, you had an idea in your head, didn't you? Is it still there?
Do you know what? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter,
Go on.
okay.
Go on.
We're going to talk about the release process of songs and obviously the struggles. We spoke to Georgia Locke, who's writing her own music, and she's local to here, and obviously about the struggles of trying to get your music heard. It's obviously such a saturated market as well. So in terms of that release process, do you go in, or both of you again, do you go into that release process with an idea of how you're going to market it, or is it very much just I'm going to put it out there and see what the reaction is, and what generally works, what doesn't work?
I always try and really just oversaturate everything. Like just, this is coming out tomorrow. Oh, it's coming out in 5 days. It's coming out in 4 days. It's coming out in 3 days. And just so people just fucking hate me. But I don't care. I try and do that, and then just talk about little else. But to limited success, I don't really know how to break through and make people give a shit about the stuff you're making. Do you?
No, it's a very difficult market. I think I've had, my band's first single actually got over 1,000 plays, so I've not got that greater than, less than 1,000.
That's good.
Thing on it. But that was because we were literally sharing on forums, on Facebook and everything.
Yeah.
Just absolutely battering Facebook groups and all sorts. So in the end, we'd get 30 listens on each. We literally went onto all these playlists, people who were just putting music together, who were just local musicians themselves, and kept harassing them basically to get put on the playlist. And then one local musician called Alan Jacob in Warrington, he actually put us on a playlist where he was promoting his playlist and actually putting money into it. And that generated a few hundred listens for us. So that, I think he ended up getting 500 listens for us.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
That massively helped. But other than that, I think it's I listen to something some music marketer say, it takes people 7 times to listen to your song to really fully engage with it. Or a lot of people, so I did try something where I was putting the same section of the song when I had the music video recorded to see if that made a difference, and my streams have gone up, but on the most recent one. But it's a hard thing because unless you try something, you don't know if it works, and social media is free.
Yeah.
Most of the time, unless you pay for ads. So there's no harm in just trying something now, I found. It's
totally.
But you try and follow what other people who have got the 10,000 plays in the first week are doing, but they've already got the following. That's
it. It's all about getting the following, isn't it? And that's my main priority, is just trying to kind of develop a fan base.
How do you... Generic
How do
question.
I do that?
How do you do that? Yeah, obviously it just depends. The more you out playing with your bands and on your own, the more people see you.
Yeah, I mean, there is
how
that.
It develops, isn't it?
But obviously the internet is has a much bigger reach. So I think, my next priority is just getting a music video made, because I feel then I'll have some really good high-res video content to just put out there.
I was going to ask you about that, whether you do make music videos.
I have a plan for one, but I haven't made one yet because I'm just fucking poor, basically.
Get me to do it. I did it for Lee.
Yeah, you're just paying back in time.
Yeah. Pay me back in songwriting time.
But so that's I actually on this topic, a week or two ago, I experienced some real fucking burnout over this. It was there was some other stuff going on, personal stuff as well, but just everything kind of happened at once, and I was just I'm supposed to be doing this single release, and I really need to push it. I really need to make sure I'm following this plan that I've got for it. And it was just because it's just so disheartening, how much of an uphill struggle it felt. I just kind of got to the point where I was can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I think, I've definitely felt that. Because I was living around Warrington at the time I did my first release. I just thought, the whole Warrington community is going to get behind me and all this sort of thing.
People don't give a shit.
But like all the musicians did. But then there's 30 musicians.
Yeah.
If they listen to it once, you've still only got 30 plays. Mm-hmm. It's still that battle where you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
I've listened to that song back since, and there's so many bits of that recording I'm not happy with. Like, it's out of time. There's bits that go out of time, and I'm like, oh no, why didn't we re-record that bit?
Yeah.
But I've now sort of learnt to go in with no expectations, be really proud of the songs still. And like, the last one particularly was just about me and my mates. And one of my mates has said, like, do you know what? I could tell it was about us, and I've done my job. No matter how many plays it gets, I've done my job, because my mate absolutely loves it, and he keeps messaging me every now and then, like, I've still got your song on repeat.
Yeah,
It was released in April.
That's so nice.
Or May, something like that. So it is definitely an uphill struggle, but you just have to go in, right, what was the song intended to be about, and has it related to people in the way you wanted it to relate to, whether it relates to how many, like, certain 1,000 people, or whether it relates to 2.
Yeah.
What difference have you made? And that's the way to do it, really, I think.
And also, every now and then you'll just, like your mate messaging, every now and then you'll just get a comment from someone. Like, I got someone on my Bandcamp sent me a message just being like, saying, your music is amazing, thank you so much for you, or something like that. And I was just like, that's really kind of helped, because it wasn't someone I knew. It was just like some random person that just had found me, and stuff like that, right, really like lifts you up, and you're just like, okay, people are listening to me.
I've noticed it with this podcast as well, because like, obviously I don't have experience of releasing music, but it's always the things that you want people to look at that they don't, and it's the sillier things. So say if I put up a cover video or something, or advertising gigs and stuff, like, I'm obviously appreciative of that. That's how I make my living. But when you're pushing this podcast, and sometimes you've put all this effort into making the episode, then you put it out on social media, and it's like, come on. Listen. But it's like, and that gets you down. It does, doesn't it? But you just got to keep. It's cliche, but you just got to keep moving forward with it and believing in what you're doing. So.
You have to. That's it. And also, it's just like, when I was feeling really burnt out the other week, and really, really sorry for myself, I was just like, yeah, but come on, what's the alternative? I'm not going to stop doing this. I've always written songs. I'm never going to stop doing it. So I might as well just toughen up.
It is tiring, isn't it, though? Like the marketing of it, especially the self-marketing, getting all the photos ready, like you say, little videos, putting it together. It's tough, and sometimes when you think, it's too overwhelming, this, I don't actually want to get started on it. But sometimes once you do get started on it, you're all right, but it is, it's tough, isn't it? It is. I
think we end up leaving it a week before we start editing, because you sort of want to listen to it on fresh ears as well.
That makes
and then
sense.
you actually listen to it and you're like, do you know what? That was a really good part. That was a really good conversation. Great question from Luke. It's a weird thing how you dissect it. But I think with your own songs, you just sort of, this is why I probably got to the point where I'm handing the responsibility even over to a producer a little bit, because that second set of ears will know, right, that bit is brilliant, like, that's going to connect with people so much. I think, like you say, like you asked the question, when you're performing something live, have you changed the way you've written? I kind of have, in the sense that I know my style better. So you then look at you might look at other folk artists to see what they're doing to promote the music. I will look at other indie bands to see what they're doing.
Yeah, totally.
I think that whole process, and you still don't get it right. You're like, well, my song's as catchy as theirs, like, in a different way. How have they got 10,000 plays?
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. You kind of have to go into it with that attitude of, like, don't get too low with the lows and don't get too high with the highs with it, because if you go in with so many expectations, that's what I think gives you that burnout. Yeah. That's what I think gives you that, like, downer on release day, when you've only got 50 plays and your mates have just got 500 or 5,000.
Yeah. No, I think that's really true.
Is there anything you've spotted from artists that you know and stuff, where you thought, oh, that's really cool, the little promotional tool that they've used, or maybe they've thought of something slightly outside the box. It's, I don't know, they've done something like improv on the street or something to promote it, or is there anything both of you have experienced in that sense?
Not from anyone I know, I don't think. Although, saying that, actually, my friend, shout out to my friend's band Square Wild, their singer Lucy did this brilliant thing where they got some merch, and they did like an unboxing video for it, and it was just adorable because she's like has the giggles and it's just like feels really awkward about it, and they just kind of cut it together in a really good way, and I was like, that is fucking 10 out of 10 social media.
Staying personable.
Being like authentic, but also promoting your product. That's what you want to do, isn't it? So I've been thinking about this a little bit recently, which is not like not in the same vein at all, but there is there's someone I just discovered on TikTok, and she's called Banshee, and she just does like electro metal stuff where she's like screaming, but she's also got these like incredible vocals, and it's all about it's largely about like female mythology, I think, in a lot of ways, but she's also kind of like tying female characters in mythology, but she's also kind of like linking that into her own life. So I saw her promoting her single Birth of Venus, and I was just like, this is fucking great. But like, she talks a lot about her personal experiences in that, because she's linked the story of the Birth of Venus to like her like being assaulted, and her kind of journey of like processing that, and that's really brave for a start. Like, I don't think I could do that, but also just like very powerful, and it's something that like a lot of people are therefore or another reason for people to like connect with it.
One thing that I've seen as a sorry to interrupt.
No, it's fine. I could just see you were about to speak.
There's an artist who's on the same, he uses the same social media company as I do.
I think we were the same one, LMSUK.
Yeah. Connor Leckenby. I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff.
No, I don't think so.
He's almost like a pop punk artist from Leeds, and he did something on his own track that I've done on a cover, and it got really well responded to on social media, where you sort of like play a riff and see how many attempts it takes you to get it. And when people see that process of you just royally fucking it up about 15 times, they almost appreciate it.
Definitely.
And like, it almost keeps them engaged to stay and see how many times it actually takes you to get it.
Yeah.
So like, he did it on his own song, because like what we often do is we record a bass riff or something like that, never play it, never play it again.
Yeah, definitely.
And you go back to it and you've almost completely forgotten. So he went back and recorded the intro and just recorded himself practicing it, and just literally it took him about 15 takes.
Yeah.
His own song, you think, oh yeah, well that'd be easy, he's obviously going to know it. But it's like, no, the process, this is how many times it actually takes you to get something right.
That's great.
That actually got him probably more views than half his content of his music videos, and where he's playing the songs.
I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that.
whole social media is stealing and remixing what other people have done.
Yeah, that's the trends and everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
So obviously, when you're both putting out your own music as well, obviously that's your creation. It's your baby almost. How do you? I mean, I don't know what it's been like for both of you, but negative comments online about some of the stuff that you maybe been making. Is that something you've both had to deal with, especially with your own music?
Everyone has to deal with that, surely.
I'm struggling to think of any.
That's good.
And I think, so I've noticed this from busking. I think people are nicer to me because I'm a woman.
Okay, yeah.
I'd like, and I've spent a long time being like, oh, male privilege and blah, blah, blah. And it is a thing in some regards, but like, people are nicer to you if you're a woman. So like, my Matt Hartless, my bandmate, hates busking because he's just had so much aggro from doing it.
Right.
Because I've tried to get him to come out with me.
What sort of aggro?
Well, either like people just being really rude and being like, can you shut the fuck up? Right. Or even just people being like, oh, play this song. And just, I mean, I get this. People just start harassing you and be like, play this song. Do you know this one? Do you know what about this? What about this?
We get that as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course you would.
What was that girl screaming at us the other week?
Oh, Brian Adams.
Oh.
Brian Adams.
do Bryan Adams. What
And then we
the
like-
song was now?
Yeah, we were like, basically,
No.
it was like,
69.
she first asked for Summer of 69.
Yeah,
And Luke was like, oh,
tune.
sorry, I don't know that one. Like, as in how to play it or anything.
Yeah.
So we can't just do that off the fly,
No.
particularly when we're a new duo. If we were like 5 years into this, and maybe you can just blag your way through it and get through it. But she's consistently, just play it.
I'll sing it as something.
Yeah, it's actually what we based our
our
pod theme
podcast
on.
Yeah.
So I was this close to going up to her and going, you know what, that radiator's broken, go and fix it.
Yeah.
And she'll go, I don't know how. I would have been like, I knew you got there in the end. But that's what I felt like doing.
So obnoxious.
It's interesting though,
Yeah.
because we had Georgia on and she goes live on TikTok a lot with her gigs and stuff. And she says she gets a lot of grief on that for going live and doing that. So I'm not saying I don't agree with what you're saying about being nicer to women, but I do feel like women get a lot of aggro in a different way at gigs, at pub
It's
gigs.
different.
A lot of creepy men and like...
Yeah.
I don't know really.
That is an interesting point though, because my covers band had a female drummer.
Oh God.
And
I can imagine.
it was like, she used to get a lot of compliments and everyone would be going, that drummer's brilliant and all that. And she's like, I take it with a pinch of salt. I was like, why?
Because they expect you to be shit because you're a woman.
It's like people don't see female drummers. So when there's someone that plays half decent, they're automatically up on the pecking order.
Yeah. But like,
I never saw it like that.
Do you know what's crazy about that is I used to have that when I played guitar in bands. Or even like when I played with other women and fucking idiot men will come up to us afterwards and be like, you were really good, but like the tone of voice, do you know what I mean? Like as in like, I thought you were going to be shit is really what they're saying.
Yeah.
And you exceeded my expectations, which are low. But the crazy thing is, I have not had that since I started playing violin in bands.
Well, that's good then.
Because people are used to seeing female violinists on the TV.
Yeah.
And isn't that mental? That it's like everyone knows violin is a million times harder than guitar. It's just, there's so much more involved in making it sound not terrible.
Yeah.
The guitar, you can like play for a week and you can basically knock out a song. For a violin, it's like 2 years or something.
Yeah.
But people seem to think that people accept female violinists, but not guitarists, but that's just a pipeline issue with the industry, isn't it? That's just the fact that like
I think it's been different since like there was a massive influx of female lead guitarists have set up YouTube channels and stuff like that.
Social media, yeah.
So I think that idea is changing where people are actually just expecting to see female guitarists.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's filtered through into the pub covers scene yet, and that's where. That's where the comments are coming. But I know Block Party changed their drummer a few years ago, and then I got a woman drummer. Mate, like she can do stuff with the drums that I've never seen in an indie band. Never.
That's really cool. I didn't know that.
But I think, as I say, with social media, that's just gonna it's gonna become, the drummer, the girl in that band, she's really good. But it's not gonna be like, oh, the girl in that band is absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
And really,
it's
she's
just a normal thing.
really solid. Like,
She's just she's fine.
Yeah.
Fine is the best thing you can be as a musician, right? Completely solid.
they're solid. Like when they don't, sometimes it's like a football referee. When they don't notice you're there, it's the best.
Yeah, totally. And the sound engineer, stuff like that. Yeah,
when you don't notice anything go wrong, then I get you. So is there anything that you've both tried promotion wise that just simply hasn't worked and you'd never do that again? Maybe tips for people that are trying to produce advertise their own music.
I mean, I don't know how if I would classify much of the stuff I've done as having worked.
Yeah,
Sounds really sad.
No.
It sounds a lot more downbeat than it's meant to, but it's just like I'm very much still at the beginning. Well, hopefully, the beginning of my journey with this. I don't really know if I knew what the cheat codes were. Would I tell? I'd probably tell you.
You see it on YouTube and stuff a lot. The algorithm seems to find me with stuff like that, like how to promote your song in 2023 and stuff like that. People seem to think they have the blueprint and stuff, but there clearly really isn't a blueprint, is there? It's just
Right place, right time.
I think it is, especially with TikTok and whatever else. A song can just go from being like a trendy viral song, and it's not even necessarily that it's a better song than yours. It's just it's caught a wave, and
Yeah,
you know,
Totally.
Well, put it this way: our drummer Abby, well, our old drummer Abby now. She used to do the social media for Flash Floods, and this is how weird it is. You can get videos to 10,000 views, or you can get them to 1,000 views most of the time. It's not really likely. Unpromoted, it hits. It all literally depends on how quickly the algorithm picks it up.
Yeah.
So, like, they say, oh, yeah, the best time to post is 6 till 8. But she posted this one time at midnight, and it was just like, it's basically this voiceover thing, and it was like, the drummer can't drum, the bass player can't play, the guitarist, who knows what the fuck he does, and shit like that. I can't remember exactly what it said. We're still getting notifications now. It's like 2,500 likes, 13,000 views, but the page on Instagram has still only got 167 followers.
yeah, no one
So
follows you do they,
annoying.
from these things.
It's like,
I know.
but I'm sure the video's on like 13,000 plays.
Yeah.
It's more than I've ever got from any video,
Yeah.
but she'd have like 3 videos that were on 6,000 and plus. And you're like, how are you doing this? And like, I think I got one, I was doing a cover of The Kooks' Naive at a gig. I fuck it up within the first 30 seconds. It's got the longest play time, it's got the most likes I've ever had. And it was on like 4,000 views in less than 24 hours. I'm like, what have I done differently?
Because you fucked up. Is that what people like?
I don't know.
They're just like, oh, this guy's
He's
so
just not realised
authentic.
that's the reason.
Yeah. This guy is
a
living his
dickhead.
truth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe that's it.
It's strange. You seem to pick up. I don't know why. You seem to pick up these. Or you had a time. I remember you telling me about it. But you seem to pick up these weird people that were just giving you these like passive aggressive comments on your post.
Mate,
What was that all about?
I just shut them up. Well, there's always idiots, isn't there? Keyboard warriors. Once you go back at them, I found they just shut up. They don't comment back. The funniest one, I can't remember the handle because I would 100% name and shame the prick. But he commented on my post something like, "I was only messing about." It was like there was like this trend on TikTok where it was like it. You know, where it comes up with all these things, it flashes through, and you'd have to sing or do something with the song. It was like most guitarists would use it to play the riff.
Yeah.
Or singers would sing a little bit of that song. And I was just messing about on my couch. I was laid down, clearly not arsed. Probably not even had a shower at this point. It was in the morning.
Yeah.
And he put something like, "The thing is, this guy actually thinks he's good."
Oh,
I was like,
what a fucking
I was like-
wanker.
I just literally went back at him. I can't even remember what I'd said, but I went, "Oh yeah, it's so nice of you to help me trigger the algorithm." I nearly did it in a video, to be honest. I was like, "It's very nice of you to comment on my post."
Yeah.
But I want to see you do the same video. Let's see where your balls are then. Something like that.
Yeah.
And I went on I'll actually view these guys' profiles to see what they're into, and he's promoted one of his mates' songs, and the guy's got auto-tune, and he's completely fucking out of tune. It was just
got
a beautiful
no
moment. It was
clue.
like, but Abby, our drummer, got so pissed off with it, she went on and commented and said, "The worrying thing is the guy actually thinks he's good."
I was going to say, did you?
Yes!
Yeah. Nice.
Well, I just give it straight back now because I just think, mate, I haven't got time for you. Like, I haven't got time for you, but I'm going to thank you for increasing my engagement.
Well, that's the thing.
And then shut you the fuck up. They never respond then.
I had this weird one the other day, and I was just like, I just made a video. I was like, with my song, like my new song playing in the background, and it was something like, it was really silly. It was like, felt cute, might walk into my cat's
I
body
saw
later
this,
on.
but I didn't see the comment that you're on about.
I walk into my cat's body later on and prowl around the neighbourhood listening to the oak trees gossip. I don't know. It's just the kind of thing that I think, you know, that's my vibe. Everyone on my page knows that's my vibe. But this guy just commented going, "What?" And I was like, "Walking? You should try it. It's fun." And I was just trying to have a bit of banter with him. He was like, "No, I'm all right." I was like, "Why have you got what a weird interaction? Why are you It's clearly not for you, and
Do you know
that's
what?
fine.
The best bit is when they come up with what, and you're like, read it. If you're confused,
What?
read it again. They come back with something else, and you've got that banter in the comments.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
I can't remember what I did once, but like there was a guy, and we were playing a game, like doing the. I was like, I'll name that tune "Wrong Answers Only," and there's this list of comments where we're just guessing the song wrong. Even I'm getting involved in it, and like. He's like, he got the song wrong first. I was like, oh, that's so close. I think he put like Britney Spears or something. It was definitely a Foo Fighters song.
Yeah.
As an example, it wasn't exactly that. But then he just kept coming back with answers. I was just like, this guy is class. I love him already.
Yeah. That's cool.
It can take a slippery turn though sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can just feel like in this back and forth stupid bloody Facebook argument or whatever. And you're like,
That's it. Yeah, I decided a few years ago. I was like, I'm not arguing.
It's so
on
tricky
social media
sometimes,
anymore.
especially during COVID and all that. And you've got these dickhead opinions on there. Like,
Yeah.
Like, you know.
I mean, I argue back like I don't give a shit, and that's probably why they don't respond.
Maybe, yeah.
Because I'm thanking them at the start. They're like, oh, bollocks, this guy don't care. Like, I've tried to play Mr. Billy Big Bollocks here. Can't shut him down.
That's it. I literally was thinking that the other day, though, when that guy was being obnoxious, and I was like, oh, a comment. Yay! Because, ultimately it is helping me. So.
Right, we're drawing towards the end of our episode now. Before we sign off, we're just going to talk about your new song that you released on Friday.
Yes.
So, go on, we'll let you introduce it, talk about it
Have
a little
I
bit.
already talked about it? I can't
We've
remember.
talked off camera, I believe.
God, yeah, that was it. I was trying to remember.
Briefly mentioned it earlier.
Sure.
Yeah, but we didn't talk about it much. We're going to do a live performance, aren't we? So yeah, go on.
Okay, so the song is called North, and I wrote it in 2017. I was living in London. I fucking hated it so much. It was just miserable place to live. No offense, but your city is shit. And just
No offense, but
No
I'm going to
offence,
offend people.
it's true. Anyway, so I was living there. I was only there for like just under a year. And at the time, the 7th season of Game of Thrones was on TV. And in that, the Starks were gradually kind of making their way home to Winterfell. And that was those were my favourite characters as well. So those two ideas of me pining for the North and those characters making their way back home up north, just really kind of amalgamated in my brain. And I just wrote these, at first it was just lyrics, or it was a poem or something, and I don't think it had a tune, but I just kind of it just came out really quickly. And then I think last year I think this was the first song I ever played at an open mic, when I'd never played at an open mic before, and I was just this was the first one I ever did. And I finally got around to actually putting it down as a single, and the reason is because I wanted a lot of stuff going on in the background. So if you go and listen to the single as opposed to my acoustic performance in Moment, there's a soundscape, and there's violin. There was going to be viola, I ended up just doing it on violin instead. There's some white noise, there's many different guitars, there's bass guitar, there's loads of stuff going on, there's loads of layers, loads of texture.
Nice.
So but it's also really good acoustic. So
That's what we're about to find out. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, we'll call it there, and we'll move over to Shelli's acoustic. This is the first time this on the podcast,
Yeah.
so acoustic live version. Here we go.
It is live.
Well, it is.
What do you mean sort of live?
By the time we've put it out, it's not live, is it? So that's kind of what I was grasping at.
Just leave this argument in.
I was having a mental, conflict with myself then. Yeah,
It was just you called it a cover earlier.
And this is Luke's
like,
live mental breakdown.
Yeah, we're going to get a cover of Shelli's song, of her own song.
Yeah.
No, it's right, we'll see you in a minute. Cheers.
One more song, one more song, one more song.